Have you ever wondered how the tradition of weddings started? Imagine a time before the written word, in the era of prehistoric humans. It was in these ancient societies that the first echoes of weddings began. Back then, weddings were far from the grandiose celebrations we know today. Instead, they were born out of necessity, primarily serving as alliances between clans or tribes. These unions were not so much about love, but rather survival and the continuity of the human species. As the centuries rolled on, these primitive unions evolved into more recognizable forms of marriage. In ancient Babylon, for instance, weddings became legal contracts, negotiated and sealed by the exchange of goods and a feast. The notion of love still took a back seat, but the seeds of modern matrimonial ceremonies were beginning to sprout. Fast forward to the societies of ancient Greece and Rome, and we see the emergence of wedding traditions that might seem more familiar to us. Here, brides wore veils to protect them from evil spirits, and grooms would carry their brides across the threshold to ensure good luck. Yet, even in these more advanced societies, marriages were often strategic moves, designed to consolidate power or amass wealth. Yet, as societies continued to evolve, so too did the concept of marriage. With the rise of Christianity, the idea of love and mutual consent began to creep into matrimonial practices, forever changing the landscape of weddings. In the East, in cultures such as India and China, weddings took on a spiritual significance, with elaborate ceremonies designed to bind not just two individuals but also two souls. However, even here, the notion of love as we understand it today was not always the driving force. Marriages were often arranged, with the primary focus being on family alliances and social status. Indeed, the journey of weddings through the annals of history is a fascinating one, reflecting the changing norms and values of human societies. From alliances for survival in prehistoric times, to strategic unions in the ancient world, to spiritual ceremonies in the East, and finally to love-centered celebrations in more recent times. From survival to love, the concept of weddings has certainly come a long way. The ancient world had its own unique wedding traditions. Let's embark on a journey through time, exploring the fascinating matrimonial customs of the Greeks, Romans, Egyptians, and Chinese. In ancient Greece, weddings were richly steeped in symbolism and family involvement. The father of the bride would lead a procession to the groom's house, signifying the transfer of his daughter from one family to another. The ceremony was followed by a grand feast, where the couple shared a piece of fruit, symbolizing their mutual commitment. Over in ancient Rome, the tradition of dowry was prevalent. The bride's family would offer gifts to the groom's family as a form of insurance, in case the groom was not satisfied with his wife. A Roman wedding was not complete without the pronouncement "Ubi tu Gaius, ego Gaia," which translates to "Where you are Gaius, I am Gaia," signifying the unity of the couple. Meanwhile, in ancient Egypt, weddings were more about social status and property than love. Marriages were often arranged, with the bride moving into the groom's home. The bride brought with her a dowry, which was managed by the groom but remained her property. Over in ancient China, marriage was a complex ritual involving many stages. The most notable stage was perhaps the 3 letters and 6 etiquettes process. This involved a formal proposal letter, a gift letter, and a wedding letter, alongside intricate etiquettes such as the selection of an auspicious wedding date. In all these cultures, the common thread was the role of family. Marriage was not just a union between two people, but a merging of families. Dowry, whether in the form of money, property, or gifts, played a significant role in these traditions. Rituals, often unique to each culture, were integral to the wedding ceremonies, symbolizing different aspects of life and future expectations. These ancient traditions might seem strange to us today, but they were the norm for people back then. So, as we delve deeper into the history of weddings, let's keep an open mind and appreciate the rich tapestry of customs that have shaped our modern matrimonial practices. As we move into the Middle Ages and Renaissance period, the traditions of weddings continued to evolve. One of the most prominent traditions was hand fasting. This was a symbolic act where the couple's hands were tied together, signifying their union. This is where we get the phrase, tying the knot. It was a public pledge of commitment, often done in the presence of a priest, but not always. Now, let's talk about dowries. These were payments given by the bride's family to the groom or his family. The dowry could include money, property, or other forms of wealth. The notion of dowries might seem archaic to us today, but back then, It was a way to ensure the bride's financial security and to strengthen familial ties. Arranged marriages were also the norm during the Middle Ages and Renaissance. Families, particularly those of higher social standing, would arrange marriages for their children to solidify alliances, consolidate power, or gain social status. Love was often not the primary factor in these arrangements. Rather, it was hoped that love would grow after the marriage. The church also played a significant role in shaping wedding traditions during these periods. The sacrament of marriage was formalized, and the church began to insist on weddings taking place in a church setting. This was a departure from the more informal, private ceremonies of earlier times. The societal norms of the time greatly influenced weddings as well. For instance, brides were expected to demonstrate modesty and chastity, which is why veils became popular. The color white was also associated with purity, but it wasn't until much later that it became the standard color for wedding dresses. Despite these strict customs and practices, love began to play a more significant role in weddings. Couples started to have more say in choosing their partners, and love matches became more common. This shift in attitude towards love and marriage set the stage for the more romanticized view of weddings that we have today. Despite the church's influence, love started to play a more important role in weddings. The modern era brought about significant changes to wedding traditions. A wave of transformation swept over the world, and the institution of marriage was no exception. As societies evolved, so did the concept of weddings, adapting and reshaping to mirror the times. The shift towards love marriages was one of the most profound changes. As the grip of arranged marriages loosened, the idea of marrying for love, rather than social or economic reasons, began to gain traction. It was a radical departure from tradition, but one that reflected the shift in societal values towards individual freedom and personal choice. Next came the introduction of the wedding dress. The tradition of brides wearing white gowns to their weddings is a relatively recent development. Queen Victoria of England, who wed in 1840, is credited with starting this trend. She wore a white gown to signify purity and innocence. This was a significant departure from the previous tradition, where brides simply wore their best dress, regardless of color. Today, the white wedding dress is a global phenomenon, symbolizing the joy and purity of love. The societal norms and expectations surrounding weddings also underwent a significant transformation. Previously, weddings were largely societal affairs, with the community playing a significant role. However, as societies became more urbanized and individuals more independent, weddings began to focus more on the couple and their immediate family and friends. The impact of events like world wars on weddings was profound. The economic hardships and uncertainty of these times led to simpler, more intimate ceremonies. This was a stark contrast to the lavish weddings of the pre-war era. But even in these challenging times, weddings remained a beacon of hope and resilience, a testament to the enduring power of love. As we moved further into the modern era, weddings became less about societal expectations and more about personal expression. They evolved from a rigid social ritual into a celebration of love and commitment, reflecting the changing values and attitudes of the times. Weddings had now become a celebration of love and commitment. In today's world, weddings are all about personalization and making a statement. Let's delve into the contemporary wedding trends. The nuptials of the 21st century are witnessing a grand fusion of tradition and innovation, thanks to the influence of technology, social media, and celebrity culture. Imagine this, an age where technology has so seamlessly woven itself into our lives that it now plays a starring role in our weddings. Couples are utilizing technology to streamline their planning process, from digital invitations and wedding websites to live streaming the ceremony for loved ones who can't physically be there. Now let's talk about social media. It has transformed the way weddings are planned and celebrated. Love it or hate it, there's no denying the impact of platforms like Instagram and Pinterest. They provide a treasure trove of inspiration, from dress designs to decor ideas, and have even given rise to the phenomenon of Instagrammable weddings, where every detail is meticulously planned for that perfect shot. Celebrity culture, too, has had a significant influence on the wedding landscape. Royal weddings and celebrity nuptials often set the tone for wedding trends, with couples around the world drawing inspiration from their lavish and stylish celebrations. Now, let's move to destination weddings. They have been on the rise, with couples choosing to tie the knot in exotic locales, from tropical beaches to historic castles. These weddings offer a unique experience not just for the couple, but also for their guests. Themed weddings have also gained popularity, whether it's a fairy tale theme, a vintage vibe, or a nod to a favorite movie or book. These weddings allow couples to express their individuality and interests. And lastly, but importantly, we have eco-friendly weddings. As the world becomes more conscious of environmental sustainability, couples are opting for green weddings. This could mean choosing local and seasonal flowers, reducing waste, or even offsetting the carbon footprint of their big day. From simple ceremonies to lavish affairs, weddings today are as unique as the couples themselves. As we look to the future, one can only wonder what weddings will look like. What might seem like science fiction today could be the wedding norm of tomorrow. Firstly, let's talk about the potential influence of technology. Imagine this: a virtual reality wedding. This might seem far-fetched now, but as virtual reality technology continues to evolve, we could see a future where couples exchange vows in a digital world. Imagine being able to choose any location in the universe as your wedding venue, without leaving your living room. Then, there's the potential for AI wedding planners. Artificial intelligence is becoming more sophisticated by the day, and we're already seeing its use in planning and organizing events. In the future, we could see AI taking on even more roles in wedding planning, from sending out digital invitations to coordinating with vendors, and even helping to choose the perfect wedding dress based on the bride's preferences. And let's not forget about the potential societal changes. As our society continues to evolve, we're likely to see changes in the way we think about weddings. For example, we could see a shift towards more eco-friendly weddings, influenced by the ongoing climate crisis. This could mean fewer paper invitations, more locally sourced food, and even the use of renewable energy sources for the wedding ceremony itself. Moreover, as society becomes increasingly diverse, we may see a blending of wedding traditions from different cultures, leading to a rich tapestry of unique and personalized wedding ceremonies. In conclusion, the future of weddings is likely to be shaped by both technological advancements and societal changes. But, as always, the core essence of a wedding will remain the same. It's a celebration of love, a commitment between two people, and a moment to share with loved ones. No matter what the future holds, one thing is certain: weddings will continue to be a celebration of love. We've traveled through time, exploring the fascinating history of weddings. Let's take a moment to reflect on what we've discovered on this journey, from the earliest beginnings to the modern day, and even a glimpse into the future. We started our voyage in the distant past, where weddings were not so much about love as they were about survival and alliances. These early unions were strategic moves, designed to secure resources, protect families, and ensure the continuation of bloodlines. Ceremonies were simple yet deeply symbolic, reflecting the cultures and beliefs of the times. From there, we moved on to the ancient traditions that have shaped so much of our modern wedding practices. The Romans, with their marriage by purchase, and the Greeks, with their elaborate betrothal rituals, both left their mark. These traditions were rich in symbolism and deeply intertwined with the societies they came from. Then we journeyed into the Middle Ages and the Renaissance, where weddings began to take on a more familiar form. The church became more involved, and ceremonies became more elaborate. Love, while still not the primary focus, started to play a more significant role. Our journey then took us into the modern era, where weddings truly became a celebration of love and commitment. The white wedding dress, the exchange of rings, the grand receptions, all these became staples of the wedding experience. Each era added its own unique flavor, reflecting the changing attitudes and values of society. Next, we explored contemporary trends, where personal expression and creativity have taken center stage. From eco-friendly weddings to destination weddings, and from DIY ceremonies to multicultural celebrations, weddings have become a reflection of the couple's unique love story. Finally, we looked into the crystal ball to the future of weddings. From virtual reality ceremonies to AI-planned events, the future holds exciting possibilities for this timeless tradition. And that, dear listeners, is the captivating journey of weddings through the ages.